Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. If you clicked on this video, I am going to assume that you are tired, because same. So my name's Alicia and I'm a mum to 4 beautiful babies, all the way from 10 years old down to newborn, or actually just out of the newborn phase. So today's video is all about surviving sleep deprivation. I've got 4 children. I know how sleep deprivation affects the soul, the body and the mind. So I am here to share all of the tricks that I have learned over the last 10 years in how to survive, because we are in survival mode, especially with a newborn. Whether your baby has reflux, they have colic, but they are going through a developmental leap, or maybe they are teething, maybe they have a rash. There are so many reasons why these little babies stop sleeping, and it is so hard on the parents. But I think that I have gathered some really good tips and tricks for getting through those periods of sleep regressions, and I've written all my notes down, so I hope this video helps you. If it does, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and let's get started with my tips and tricks for handling sleep deprivation. So with my first tip and trick, we are going straight in, and I am going to recommend co-sleeping. So I totally know that co-sleeping is a little bit controversial, and I actually don't co-sleep all of the time with my babies, but I definitely do co-sleep through any kind of sleep regressions or developmental leaps. So what that looks like is I put my baby in her next to me, and then when she wakes up for her first feed, she comes in the bed and I typically nurse her back to sleep, and then she will sleep next to me in the bed for the rest of the night. So whilst co-sleeping was not recommended for a very long period of time, the Lullaby Trust have actually recently updated their recommendations for safe sleep, because it did a survey and it showed that 9 out of 10 parents accidentally co-sleep with their baby, but only 4 out of 10 of those parents knew any form of safe guidelines for co-sleeping. So they have recently updated their recommendations for safe co-sleeping, which is so important. So I tend to follow something called the Safe Sleep 7, and I'm going to put a picture in here, and you'll be able to see all of the guidelines for safe co-sleeping. So take a screenshot of this if you are planning on co-sleeping. And I also always make sure that I am in a C-curl around my baby. When she was first born, we did chest sleep, but she's a little bit big and a little bit heavy for that now. So instead, I make sure that we are in a C-curl, and this protects her from blankets and pillows. Now, it of course goes without saying that co-sleeping can be unsafe if it is not planned for. So make sure that you read all of the guidelines and all of the safety before you do co-sleep. Accidents happen when you accidentally fall asleep with your baby. Accidents don't tend to happen if you have planned your co-sleeping journey. So I would highly recommend looking into safe co-sleeping if your baby is going through a developmental leap, or perhaps they just want to be close to you, particularly in that 4th trimester. I would definitely look at safe co-sleeping. Okay, my next tip is something that I actually only learned with my 3rd baby, and it is tracking leaps. Now, I actually didn't know that developmental leaps were a thing with my 10-year-old. We always just called them growth spurts, but the world of research has moved on so far from then. So I always track my baby's developmental leaps. So I actually use an app called Wonder Weeks, and it is a paid-for app, although I do believe there are free apps, and you can also find all of the information for leaps on Google if you want to work it out yourself. But basically, all babies go through these things called developmental leaps, where they learn perhaps coordination, they find out that they've got hands and feet, they start to see smooth patterns in the world, and they all happen to all the babies at the exact same time, except if your baby is premature, then you need to go off of adjusted age. So on the app Wonder Weeks, you get a calendar, and it tells you exactly when your baby is going to have a leap, what skills they will be learning, when they will be fussy, when they might have a regression, and also how to support them through it. So I really love this app because it gives you so much educational content, but it also helps you to plan ahead. If your baby is likely not going to sleep or be fussy over the next week, you can plan to perhaps safely co-sleep with them. So I highly recommend tracking leaps. Okay, my 3rd tip is to meal prep. Now, I don't mean meal prep in the traditional sense of like chicken, protein and rice. I mean things like double batching. So when I make dinners, I always make a double batch. So for example, if I'm making a curry or a chili, I will use double the amount of ingredients, and then when I take it out of the pan, I put half in a big container pot in the fridge or the freezer, so that on a day where I perhaps don't feel like cooking, I will get that out of the fridge and I have a nice healthy home meal ready for the whole family, but it took me the exact same time as it would to make my other dinner. So I always double up on ingredients. I have found it to be so helpful to do that, and I just pop it in the fridge and it's ready to go for whenever I need it. I also recommend making some kind of overnight breakfast for yourself when you have the energy in the evening, because in the morning after a long night of no sleep, you are likely not going to eat any breakfast, and I'm definitely guilty of that. So I like to make myself some overnight oats, or I make myself some overnight chia pudding, but there are so many overnight recipes on Google that you could look at. It takes around 20 seconds to make, put it in the fridge, and if you make up maybe 3 or 4, you almost have a week's worth of breakfast in the fridge. So if you have not slept all night long, at least you know you're going to wake up to a nice, lovely, fulfilling breakfast to get you through the rest of that next day. I also like using smoothie bag mixes, because smoothies are full of so many healthy things for our body, but cutting up all the fruit can be a mare, especially if you're super tired, you just can't be bothered. So I buy ready-made smoothie bags, and they go in the freezer, they are pre-cut, and I literally pour them into the blender, put a bit of milk and yogurt in, and they are ready to go. It takes 10 seconds rather than having to cut up all the fruit, and that's another really easy breakfast or lunch option if I'm absolutely shattered. Okay, my next tip is organisation. Now I hear you, I'm tired, I don't want to be organised. I think it is vital to be organised if you know that you are likely not going to get any sleep. So I like to always make sure that my bedside and my bed is ready for me when I'm going to go upstairs. So I have my iPad charged, my AirPods charged, my laptop charged. I have a book there, I have my Bible, so that if my baby is going to be up in the night, I can keep myself occupied. There's nothing worse than when I'm starting to breastfeed and I can see the remote on the other side of the room and I can't get to the remote because I'm nursing. So I like to make sure that everything is going to be within a hand's distance, so that when I'm tired at 2 a.m, I'm not rustling through everything trying to find things. So I make sure that everything is ready. I also always put out my clothes for the next day, the night before, because in the morning I can be very, very guilty of putting on a dressing gown and ending up accidentally staying in that dressing gown all day and having a pajama day. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a pajama day. I love a pajama day, but it can lead to me being really sluggish, not leaving the house. So I like to put my clothes on first thing in the morning because it helps me to just get on with the day, even if I'm really tired. I always find that I get up, splash my face with cold water, do my skincare and get dressed immediately. It takes me maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and it changes the tone of the morning. So I highly recommend getting organised the evening before. For the morning after a long night of no sleep, you will find that it makes the biggest difference to your next day. Okay, my fifth tip is all around hydration. So of course, we stay hydrated with lots of coffee, perhaps a Red Bull or an energy drink, but you really need to make sure that you are consuming lots and lots of water, even if you are formula feeding, because water will help to combat that feeling of tiredness. If you are feeling extremely lethargic the next day, drinking water and being hydrated will really, really help. Being dehydrated can actually make you more tired. So I recommend investing in a large flask that's going to keep your water cold all day. It doesn't need to be a Stanley, it can just be like a own brand flask. Just make sure that it will keep your water nice and cold and you can sip it throughout the day, and it's transportable so you can take it around the house with you and your baby. But you really need to make sure that you are staying hydrated. It will really help to combat the tired symptoms. Okay, my next tips are around if you have multiple children like me. You will know if you are tired, dealing with other children when you've not had any sleep all night can be really tricky, and you tend to be a little bit snappier and lots less patient. So I like to have things that my toddler and my other children can access independently. So that looks like, for example, activity bags. So I have a big Ziploc bag and inside are activities for them to do. So they take minutes to make. I might cut up tissue paper and I put it all inside the bag, and then I have maybe a head where they can decorate the hair with tissue paper. Maybe I've printed out some fire engines and they will stick on the tissue paper. And in that activity bag is everything everything that they need. So I have a glue stick, scissors, tissue paper, pens in each bag, so that when I'm really tired, I can pass them a bag and they will go and think it's so special, and it gives me half an hour to an hour to just relax and rest my body whilst they are getting on with an independent task. I also love the wipe clean books. They are really good for independent play. And I also like to have all of our Play-Doh and all of our sand in Ziploc bags, so that again, when they want to play with them, it's so easy for me to go and get. I don't feel like it's a big task. It just takes me 1 second to pass them a bag. So I recommend having things like that ready, some sort of independent play opportunities for your children, so that you can rest and relax when everything is a little bit chaotic and your baby lets you, and they can get on and play independently. I think that is my top 6 tips and tricks for handling sleep deprivation. I really hope you found them helpful, and if you would like a part 2 to this video, because there are many more, then let me know in the comments down below. If you have any tips that you think I have missed, please do leave them in the comments down below. We are all in this parenthood journey together. But for now, I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you in my next video.